Hey everybody, and welcome to the Rock and Roll Farming Podcast. And today I'm very excited to be staying in Wales once again and heading down to Ceredigion to talk to farmer and the owner and founder of the phenomenon that I'm going to say is Cattle Strength, Rhys Jones. Rhys, how are you?
What an introduction that was. Okay. Thanks for having me.
That's all right. It feels like this is a very Welsh stereotype. We've got an Evans talking to a Jones, and all we need now is a male voice choir and a rugby ball, and I feel like we'd be.
Davis, and yeah.
What would you describe yourself as? I described you as a farmer and sort of gym founder and owner, but what would you, if someone asked you at a party, what you do, what would you say?
Oh wow, not much. I don't know. I would a gym owner, I suppose. That a farmer slash gym owner. I don't know, to be honest. It's changed now. I would have said I've kind of hung many hats over the years. Um, at the minute, my current hat is probably gym owner slash farmer. Although my dad would laugh at me that I said that because I'm not doing as much in the farmers there yet. My dad would probably tell me off. He'd say, "Can I swear on this?" Probably.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, yeah.
We fucking farmer. He'd say something like that. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I get that as well with my dad. It sounds like my dad and your dad would get on, but when I'm doing this kind of stuff and bits of journalism I do, people sort of say to me, "Do you still do any farming?" And I'm like, "Bloody hell, yes, I do some farming." And my dad would say, "I don't think he does much actually," but
Yeah. To be
yeah,
fair to my dad, like I don't actually do that much anymore, but I still like to identify as a farmer. If that makes
yeah,
sense. Even
yeah,
though,
yeah.
and like
Uh,
long term, I probably will, be more active on the farm, like
yeah.
long term. But for now, it's kind of like all gas, no brakes with cattle strength. Really, I'm pushing it quite hard and enjoying it in that sense.
Yeah. Okay. Tell me a bit about the area where you live.
It's quite rural, but you're the people who listen to your podcast. I'd imagine a lot of them come from a farming background anyway, do they? We live in Ceredigion, so I live directly in the middle between Aberaeron and Lampeter, which are the two. Well, one's a market town and one's a seaside town. Aberaeron's turned into a bit of a holiday destination now for a
Mm,
lot of holidaymakers. Like half term, you wouldn't want to go down there. School holidays, it's manic. You can't get a place to park. But yeah, we're about 10 minutes from the nearest like half decent town, really. So it's quite a rural area. Um, yeah, we've decided to build a gym right in the middle.
and strong, obviously strong farming community.
Yeah, no, they are. I think a lot of them, I say a huge percentage of my members, I wouldn't say come from a farm, but their uncles or their granddad
Yeah.
or doing this. There's a direct link to a farm somewhere.
Yeah.
I come where we live, people by their farm name. So this morning, and there was a Fion that we were talking about. Shout out to Fion if you listen to the podcast. People were like, hey, Fion, Fion Davis, and I was like, nah, there's a bloody lot of Fion Davises, but
Yeah, yeah.
you know, drives a Peugeot. Nah, and then you name the farm, and you're like, oh yeah, 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 and then yeah, so there's always a link to a
Certainly
farm.
that.
Her uncle,
Yeah. Yeah.
her uncle's Tim Daly or something like that, and you name the farm. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Everyone in Wales is well, certainly in rural communities is they're either known by their farm or their profession, aren't they?
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, like I've got you in my phone as Rhys Cattle Strength. Like, I'm sure other people will as well. It's just yeah, it's a
Yeah.
Welsh thing, isn't it?
My wife had a go at me the other day because I met must have been 12 years ago, but her name's still down on my phone as Katie Lampeter. You need to change that. I've literally just
Outstanding.
changed her now. She's now Katie wife.
I can't see why. Outstanding.
Yeah,
Have your family always been in that area, farming in that area for a long time? Multiple
yeah,
generations?
yeah, yeah. Yeah. What am I? Yeah, well, my fourth generation I am I? Yeah, fourth generation. Sorry, I had to think then for a second. Yeah,
Deep
yeah,
roots.
yeah. No, yeah, we've always been, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Did you grow up wanting to be a farmer? Was that something that you
No,
kind of No, you didn't at all.
nah, to be honest with you, when I would say the age of 12, 13, 14, probably going on to 15. Didn't do much in the farm at all. Um, I played a lot of PlayStation. I was even late getting into rugby. Rugby was a big part of my life. I was quite late getting into rugby. My dad didn't push me at a young age, so with the farming, so I didn't do much on the farm. And then as I got like 16, 17, then I kind of did like quite quickly in a short amount of time. I really was motivated and I like learned to share sheep.
Hmm.
And I got into that. And then I was like quite busy then after like 16, 17, 18, 19. I was really into it. But at a young age, no. So then when I was in school doing my GCSEs and A levels, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I knew that I wanted to come home to farm at some point. Um, but I wasn't sure if I was ready to do it there and then. So I decided then I'd go down the university route and go and get a degree first because I did have a big interest in like sports coaching and sports science things like that as well. Um, so yeah, so that's the route I went down. But no, to be honest with you, when I was 13, 14, I was heavily into my PlayStation and like didn't do much to go outside. Yeah, looking back, it's pains me to say that, but yeah.
It's quite surprising to hear that actually, for someone who makes a living being so active. It's
No,
quite,
I
yeah.
know. Yeah, and I was even late getting into rugby. I don't know, like, but you see it with kids now. Like a lot of my members have got kids. Like, and for one of them, for example, now I've trained him for about 8 years and 10 years probably actually. Peter Crothers, he won't mind me saying this, but his son, he was well into PlayStation when he was like 13, 14, and he was like, oh, I'm worried about him. I wish he would like do more.
Mm,
And I was like, well, I was a bit like that when I was that age. I think I think a lot of kids are.
yeah,
It's worse now. Like PlayStation is probably the best thing to be into. Like now, everyone's on Facebook and
yeah.
Instagram, Snapchat and TikTok. I was literally playing. I can't even remember like Gran Turismo or something, whatever it was. But now they've got all these extra things like bad,
Yeah.
bad things to be addicted. But he was like, don't worry, I was the same, and he got into rugby. You should see him now. He's in Harri actually, and
Oh
got
yeah.
kids. Kid's a machine. He like gyms 4 times a week. He works for his dad as a plumber when he's back. Like he just, I think sometimes you can't expect kids to
No.
be farming at an early age. I think I wouldn't put any pressure on my kids to want to do it from an early age. I think some parents do, and I don't know if I agree with that. Having said that, there's better things to be doing than playing PlayStation as well. But
Yeah, all kids are different, aren't they? I think, yeah, you're quite right. There's a lot of societal pressure, isn't there? And social media highlights that. It makes it worse, doesn't it? Sometimes you see so much what other people are doing, and I think sometimes you've just got to do what works best for you and your family and your situation, haven't you?
I wouldn't want to be a youngster now, like growing up with all these like social media pages, like
Yeah.
paying off. Like we don't have that. Like the worst I had to deal with was, like I said, PlayStation, and
It's
yeah,
hard to navigate as speaking as someone who has teenage daughters. It's
yeah.
yeah, it's hard to
How old are yours now?
uh they are Christ, I have
You know
I have
this.
to think 14 I've got so many. They're 14, 13, 11 and 9.
Yeah, it's tough. But yours are into rugby, and they.
Yeah, three of them play rugby, yeah.
It's a good sign. Like,
Yeah, yeah, they're doing well. They've had a good season. We've got our last tournament this Sunday. So yeah, the season will be ended then, which is good because it's been great, but it's a long season. You need a break. Your season's just ended, hasn't it?
yeah, yeah. We I'm going to Benidorm next weekend. I promised the boys if we win the league, I'll go on tour. And what do they do? They bloody won the league. So I'm gonna have to go on rugby tour to Benidorm next Friday.
Oh my God, a rugby tour to Benidorm.
Yeah.
Jeez. All right. So you mentioned your rugby career. How did that start? You were late to the game, but you ended up playing at a really good level.
Yeah,
Talk
yeah,
me through it.
yeah, I love rugby. Always have. Not always have. Sorry, since I've got into it, I always have. Went off to university, and that's when it kind of kicked off. Really, I was lucky. We had some good coaches in university. A lot of them had like worked with the Blues Academy and stuff over the years, and they dropped down to coach the university team. One of them saw some potential in me, so he like sent my number to the Pontypridd head coach, Dale McIntosh at the time,
Oh
Chief
yeah.
Jim.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he was like, so I met up with him. And then when I met up with him, then one of my current friends was also playing for Neath at the time, and Neath back then were a very good team. And he was like, "Oh, I'll get Pat Hogan from Neath to give you a ring." So he was the Neath head coach. So I ended up like Neath rang me, and then Ponty was speaking to me, and I ended up going to Neath because my friend was playing there. So I spent about 10 years playing in the Welsh Premiership then for Neath, back and forth. I did a bit with the Ospreys, but there was a time where I was like, oh, I could probably maybe be a professional rugby player if I put my head down and kind of go for this. So kind of the opportunity kind of came when I did a bit with the Ospreys. Basically, like I was with them, they basically contracted, said that you're gonna be with us all year now. You're gonna be training 4 or 5 times a week, 4 times a week it was, um, and we'll give you a good shot, see how you get on. And then I went on tour with them to Belgium, and I did my ACL in my shoulder.
Okay.
And then after that, then I didn't buy the recovery time and stuff. They kind of put me back to the Ospreys. And to be honest, I lost a bit of interest after that, really. Like in the fact that I was getting a bit older, and I'd had a sniff of what it was like being in full-time camp, if that makes sense, and it wasn't as glamorous as I thought it would be,
Mm.
or as I thought it would be, especially at that level. Obviously, when you're playing top tier, like Alan Wynne Jones and your Dan Biggers of the world who were in the team, they obviously there's a huge disconnect between like the top
Mm.
players and the squad members, the Tesco team, like myself. That we call.
That's a good team.
No, it was a really good experience. But then I realized that it's probably not for me. But I enjoyed the strength and conditioning side and the fitness side of the sport
Mm.
uh, in general, and then that's what kind of led me then into coaching um, off the back of that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, okay. What was the highlight of your I know you're still playing, but what's the sort of highlight of your rugby career?
Good question. Probably my university days. We were lucky; we had a hell of a team because university teams change all the time with
Yeah.
new players coming in and out. We just had the influx we had the year we came in. It was an incredible team. So I think we won every game for 3 years in a row. It was mental.
Wow.
So we took them from like Conference B right up to Prem A. And then the year we left, all the boys left and we got them up to the top league. And there was only about five like half decent players in that team then, and they just got dick then every week after that. But it was good. I think I also enjoyed when I was in Neath. It was a season where we lost nearly every game, but the boys were like really we were a tight group of players.
Yeah.
We were only just losing, but then looking back at my career, it's not really about the winning and losing. It's more about the memories you make and like the
Yeah.
banter and laugh you have off the pitch really more than anything. And that probably what I enjoyed the most of us.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I can relate to that. Who's the best player you ever played with?
Probably Tipperick, Justin Tipperick. Um,
That's quite the name drop.
yeah, when I did a bit with like Sam Underhill. I played a bit with him.
Oh yeah.
He's I was lucky enough to play in the same team as him, not against them, because he used to fucking
Absolute machine, isn't he?
10 people in
Mm.
half.
Mm.
Yeah, that tips probably, I would say.
So where did the initial idea for cattle strength come from? You were obviously getting more interested in the strength and conditioning. Then were you thinking you just sort of get a professional career in that, or when did you first think you could have your own business?
I kind of fell into it, to be honest with you. Like, because I live, the nearest gym for me, like 12 years ago, or 15 years ago, was about a half an hour's drive. But anything half decent, there's a leisure
Mm.
centre up the road, but back then I was just full of, yeah, it was not for me then, basically.
Yeah,
And so I kind of converted one of the old barns on the farm, like just to have like a squat rack, a row machine, a kettlebell, nothing fancy, just what you need, kind of like what you've got.
yeah,
Yeah, exactly the same. Like, and I'd been coaching, I'd been working in a school, like doing rugby coaching and things like that, and I really enjoyed it and had a massive like interest in that. But I was also working on the farm by now, and like you don't earn a lot of money on the farm, like what I've done anyway, like with the situation that I was in. So I was being paid a little bit to play rugby and then a little bit on the farm. So like, when you want to like go out on the weekends and you want to go on holiday and things like that, money can be a bit tight.
yeah.
So I always wanted to think, oh, it'd be nice to have like another income stream now, just something like boost, diversify, just have like a little bit of my income coming in, because it was quite tight with me at the time. So my local plumber then asked me if I'd be willing to PT him,
Okay.
because he was having a PT and down the road and he wasn't happy and things like that. So I said, yeah, no worries, I'd love to. Pete, the plumber, asked me if I'd be willing to coach him as a PT, and £10 an hour. I thought it'd be quids in, train him twice a week. Brilliant. And then his wife, he had good results. His wife then decided that she'd want to join, and then her friend, then his friend wanted to join. So I had then, 5 clients a week come in once or twice a week, paying £10 a session. And I thought, whoa, this is problem solved. Like,
Yeah.
and I was really enjoying it as well. And I realized that I'm actually really enjoying this. And didn't really have cattle strength back then. It was just me coaching people. And then they started having good results. It took me about 2 years then to decide could probably make a business out of this because it was just word of mouth. So then me and Katie sat down and we thought about names, and Cattle Strength came up because I really wanted to be authentic. I really wanted to tie in with the farm, make it different because there's a million gyms in the world, but there's not many farm gyms. Um, so that was important to me, and obviously it was on the farm and in the barn and the shed, basically. So we decided to call it Cattle Strength, and then we started sharing the results that we'd had over those 2 years on social media, and then it just went joof. And then I was kind of milking in the morning, then going to coach for 2 hours, back farming, coach for 2 hours, back farming, coach in the night, continuously. I'm playing rugby. Looking back, I don't know how I managed it, but
Yeah.
it was chaotic, but good as well. It was quite a cool time.
Yeah. Did you I guess correct me if I'm wrong, but I would imagine with the coaching, people skills is just as important as the actual PT element. So is that always come natural to you, or is that something you kind of developed as you went along?
I wouldn't say so, but I completely agree with you. I think like if you can't connect with the people that
Yeah.
you can't get your message across and you can't relate to them, they have to trust in you as a person to get results, like as a coach, if that makes sense.
Mm.
I think you could be the best coach in the world, but if you can't like speak to people well or get people to trust and respect you, etc., and vice versa, I don't think you're gonna go far as a coach. I think it is a huge element of it,
Yeah.
100%. I
Yeah.
would, I think rugby helped. Like
Yeah.
just being in the rugby environment and you have banter with the boys all the time, and I think we kind of bring that now in this gym. The people that walk in, we kind of within our limits, like take the piss out of people in a nice
Yeah.
way, and I think that's what people want a lot of the time. Not everyone, obviously, you have to treat everyone differently, but yeah, I think it is important.
Anyone who sort of follows any of your social media channels can see that though. It just looks like your clients and the people who go there just yeah, they work hard and they're obviously in it for those reasons of whatever, either wanting to lose weight or get fitter or stronger, whatever it may be. I guess everyone's got their own motivations, but it looks like it's a whole lot of fun as well, and it looks like people enjoy themselves, and I think that's what I don't know. I guess that's what a lot of people are looking for, isn't it?
100%. I think that's one of the most important things to us. When me and Katie sat down and we had the vision for the gym and what we want it to be like and how we want to be different, like we try and build everything around our values and our values that we repeat it all the time. And every decision we make is based around if it affects those values in a negative way, we won't do it. Or if it
Mm,
affects values in a positive way, we will. And the main one is community. So our community is super important. That's the same with online and in the gym. Like everything we do, like has to be built around that community. Like we don't want to lose that. If we like, for example, going 24 hours, like a lot of people ask us, oh, is the new gym going to be 24 hours? Well, no, probably not, because we'd probably lose the community if we did, because there wouldn't be a coach in the door, there wouldn't be a friendly face to see you, there wouldn't be, someone to see all the time, and people would just be going in different hours. We want to have a strong community, so no, we're not going to go 24 hours. As an example, the other one then is being inclusive. So obviously, really important to me since having Harry and his diagnosis. Inclusivity is one of the most important things as well. So we start classes for kids 3 years old up until our oldest client, who's what is just she's about close to 80 anyway. Uh,
Wow,
yeah, and
that's
then
awesome.
I've got athletes that I train online who are adaptive, um, in many different um, like places in the world, etc. We're trying to be inclusive to anyone. And then the third one then is being authentic, so authenticity. So we want to be different in the way that we do things and the way we program, and being authentic is super important. So just not copying other people and doing our own thing, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. No, it really does come across online on the social media that exactly that. And also what you haven't mentioned is super important, I know to you, is country music.
Oh, that's the authenticity, isn't it?
Yeah.
So if you lose, like, how are we authentic while we play country music all the time? So
Yeah.
that sticks to the authenticity. It's not very inclusive, mind, but we won't bring that
I put
up.
my Johnny Cash t-shirt on especially for you today, you see.
Yeah.
Do you find that you get people who think that they don't like country music and then after listening to it at the gym, suddenly they develop a love for it?
They're the worst people. You get secret deniers then who like actually enjoy it, but they pretend that they don't, and you can tell they
Yeah.
don't. They start going like this, and then
Yeah.
there's so many people that have converted. That's one of my proudest accolades as a coach, I think. People that are converted to big avid country fans.
Yeah.
We, we did a workout this morning. It was a long, sweaty. We do fitness Fridays in the gym. So the workouts are long and sweaty. So I like to go around all the people taking part, and I'll ask them individually for a song. So I'd be like, "Oh, Ryan, give me a song," and then I'll put it on Spotify. And
Yeah.
the amount of people that, like, I had three people say Zach Bryan today.
I love Zach Bryan. Or I've even got my girls, they're teenagers and preteens, and they like, shite music, but they all love Zach Bryan, thanks to probably me listening on the back of hearing it at your place. Yeah,
Cool,
yeah,
yeah,
it's amazing, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah. But it's nice to see like people are actually choosing country music now, and when I'm going around, because some of the shit that comes out sometimes.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm gonna watch
yeah.
that now next month.
Oh, in London? Yeah, awesome. We did try and get tickets, but we were a bit late. But yeah, really cool.
Yeah.
Um, uh, it must be incredibly rewarding. Sometimes you must hear some amazing stories from people who started with you and really, I guess, changed their whole life, physical and mental health.
Yeah. There's like too many people to mention, right? Like so many people to mention, but we've had some like incredible like stories over the years, from like so many different, not just from like a physical perspective, but like a mental perspective as well. Like the woman, these not just women, these people who came up to us and say like, we really helped them like with the stages that they were in their life like at that time and things like that, and they'd only tell us in hindsight once they'd gone through it.
Mm,
And for example, someone told me the other day, she really struggled last year, and she explained why, and it was quite a traumatic reason that no one knew about, etc. And she said if it wasn't for this place, she don't know how much she would have like managed and things like
mm,
that. Just puts it into perspective. You think, fuck. One, you don't know what people are going through because I had no idea she was struggling. And two, you don't realize how much of an influence you can help with people, if that makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah,
Um,
100%.
just the physical training side alone massively helps. But then the community and having that person to talk to, and that side massively helps as well. It's a big thing, not just the physical training either.
Yeah, I mean it's been massive for me, and I'm not just I've said this to you via messages and things before. It's been massive for me, changed my life, and I think it's because we're all in this sort of you sound really old when I say this in this day and age when we talked about it before a bit with smartphones and things. We're all so connected and switched on, and we've all got a million things buzzing around in our heads, and I just love getting that little bit of time to where you to yourself, if you know what I mean, to work on yourself without sounding too cheesy. And it's been massive for me for mental health, probably even more than physical health.
I'm exactly the same as you. Like I can relate wholeheartedly. Like if
Yeah.
I have that hour to myself, 3, 4 times a week, whatever it may be,
Mm,
I'm not as fun to be around, like
Mm.
family, and it will reflect how I am, like with my kids, with my wife. She'll say, like in fairness to Katie, she's honest. She'll be like, Rhys, have you trained recently? Like it clears your head, doesn't it?
Mm.
It especially if you're going through shit and you're really stressed. And farming's a good example of this.
Yeah.
Everything at once, doesn't it? And you feel guilty then for making that time for yourself to have to go to the gym, especially if you've got kids and especially if you've got a wife. But just finding that time, it's amazing how much of a positive effect they can have on everything.
Yeah, I think so because we're all guilty of that, aren't we? Oh, I haven't got time. I haven't got time to do this, but you can find the time, even if it's just small blocks. Like when I first spoke to you and I explained that I was a farmer and that I'm really busy and I haven't got time to sort of do kind of 2 hour sessions, you broke it down into small chunks for me. And, I know we're probably all guilty as farmers thinking we're the only ones who are busy. Everybody's busy. But it's just, we've all got families and jobs and everything else. And it's just fitting it in as best you can, isn't it? It's not, it doesn't have to be all the same, does it?
I think you have to try and create systems.
Yeah.
Try and find that system that works for you that you can try and make the time, whether that's getting up early or going to bed later or doing it late at night. I know it is hard, but then the counteract to that is, I tell people all the time, what's your screen time on your phone?
Mm,
Screen time, it's frightening. It's like some people are like 6, 7 hours on their phone. There's like I saw a statistic the other day where people are spending more time on their phone now than they're spending in bed sleeping. Like, if you can reduce that, then you can get half an hour back maybe.
yeah. Yeah. What advice would you give in terms of um for people listening in terms of keeping going and not getting disheartened? Because a lot of people, it's really common, isn't it? People want to get, maybe they've put a bit of weight on over Christmas or something and they get into January and they're all, they buy a new pair of trainers and they're all going to do it. And then by the end of January, kind of it hasn't gone quite as well as they hoped and they've got disheartened and then they think, what's the point? And they give up. I mean, what advice would you give to people
I'd
in those
always
terms?
try and focus on being process driven, not results driven. Because falling in love with the process is ultimately what's going to lead to like getting those results and changing your results and actually changing your habits. Um, so when you're process driven, you can set yourself small goals every day that will compound massively over long term. So like for
Mm,
example, if you want to get fitter, you could like the small goal for the day might be right. Instead of doing 10 burpees every minute on the minute today, I'm going to try and do 11. And you just make that small, like you hit that small goal every day. Or instead of resting for a minute in between each intervals, I'm going to try and do 55 seconds rest today. So that's going to be small. Like just think about small, little, chunkable goals that you can hit every day. I think if you set yourself this big target and you don't see it like happening, it can massively put you off. But if you like enjoy the process and you just like move a little bit better with a barbell, or you manage to do a set of pull-ups unbroken instead of having to break them up, or you manage to do your first burpee or your first box jump, which is a big one. Like a lot of these girls who I turn into the gym now, they think they never can do a box jump. So what we do is we set up plates on the floor and then they jump from there. And then the next session, then we reduce the height and then they jump from there. And then the next session, they reduce the height again. So that's the process is linear and they hit these small targets. Does that make sense? I'm waffling on a little bit here, but instead of just thinking, I want to lose 2 stone, that's it's a goal that you may or may not hit. Your weight will fluctuate. You'll feel shit one week if you're on your period and your menstrual cycle and your weight's going up. Whereas if you think, right, I'm gonna get fitter, I'm gonna move better, I want to run a half marathon this year. Like you get these little process-driven targets in place, and I think that's what ultimately leads to staying on track. Does that make sense?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it does. And one of the things that I liked about the way or like about the way you do it is um sometimes like we're all a bit we can be too hard on ourselves as well, can't we? So like, I've had times when I've just got really busy harvesting or silaging or whatever, or sometimes just over Christmas with the family and kids, where I've just missed kind of 2 or 3 weeks. And in the past, I might have just thought, "Oh God, I'm too busy. I haven't got time. What's the point?" and given up. But when I've sort of messaged you about that, you've just been, well, don't worry about it. You know, you haven't dropped that much. Just get back to it when you can. And I found that, I don't know, I guess it sounds really simple, but I've just found that really helpful and refreshing.
I tell my athletes to have 2 weeks off for Christmas. When Christmas comes around, I'm like, right, have 2 weeks off, spend some time
Yeah,
with, try and like you can still try and get your steps in. So like if you're lucky as a farmer, you're high anyway. But like for no like day-to-day people, like try and get 10,000 to 15,000 steps a day every day. Don't worry about the gym. Let's try and eat high protein diet. So obviously try and get your protein target up. But it's Christmas, you are gonna overindulge. Like don't worry about that too much. We can damage, you can reduce the damage afterwards. But if you do that, like you're not going to lose what you've been working over the year for. Like you might feel for a few days that you do because everyone feels like crap
yeah,
after, but you don't. Like people are like overestimate. What's the word? They overestimate what they can achieve in like
hmm
2 weeks and underestimate what they can achieve in a year. And it's the same backwards. So people think that they're going to lose everything in 2 weeks, and you don't. If you've been consistent over the course of the year, 2 weeks is not going to like ruin your progress. So I think just controlling the things that you can control, like your steps, your protein target, eating like healthy, balanced meals. If you missed a few sessions, you're fine. Like sleep, I'd rather see you get 8 hours sleep a night than like, you sacrifice 3 hours sleep to try and get that session in if it's gonna bug you up then in the long run.
yeah. What just if there's someone listening and they're just, they've got whatever, they've got busy and they're wanting to get back into fitness and, they're feeling a bit crap about themselves, what advice, apart from getting in touch with you, but what advice would you give them? What are some good first steps?
I think it's good to find something you enjoy. I think if you don't enjoy it, you won't stick to it.
Hmm.
We found that here, people come try CrossFit or our style of training and it's just not for them. Like people, not everyone enjoys this style of training. So the style that they might enjoy, let's just think of like people from farming backgrounds now, they might enjoy going on the mountain bike, like, and they really enjoy that. They like going out in the fresh air. If you find something like that you enjoy, you should go down, you should stick to that. That's what I would say. Because if you don't stick to it, you're not going to have that adherence and the consistency to stick to it. Um, I would focus on what you do outside the gym first, if that makes sense. So, there's 24 hours in a day. Only one of those hours is going to be in the gym. If you can get people moving more and eating healthier and sleeping better, that's going to have them feel so much better already. Um, and then try and find like some sort of accountability. So whether that would be get in touch with a coach or someone that can help you, it could easily be that you have a friend that you can go with, or a family member. So, for example, when my wife, like 2 years ago, she wanted to get back into exercise after having kids, she joined a run club with her friend and they went running 3 times a week. But that was
Hmm.
an opportunity for her to catch up with her friend. She managed to get some exercise in, and that kind of like laid the foundation then for her to get into a routine of training regularly because she'd had a 5-year gap from not training because of giving birth to three crazy children. But
Yeah,
I think that those things, but you have to enjoy it. I think life's too short to do something you don't enjoy. I think.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
absolutely agree. I mean, and there's so many different, again, sounding like a dad talking to my kids, but there's so many things you can do now, isn't there? There's so many different sports that you can do that weren't available, when I was growing up. It's incredible.
Walking's one of the most underrated exercises you can do.
Yeah.
If someone asked me what's the best form of exercise, I'd say walking. I'd say walking first, and then I'd say strength training second. I think walking is one of the best things you can do to increase overall health for the majority of people.
Mm.
And strength training is the best thing you can do to increase the quality of your life for the majority of people. If you're stronger, you're going to feel better. Like it's going to help everything.
Yeah.
So just those two things alone, I think.
Yeah.
So that, yeah.
What's your favorite and least favorite exercise?
These are the questions you sent me. I didn't even look at these.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
because like it's. I mean, my least favorite, is Bulgarian split squats. I hate them.
I'm not saying this to copy you now, but in all honesty, I think my least favorite is also Bulgarian split squats.
Oh, they're the worst.
There used to be an overhead squat or a snatch, but for the last 2 years, I've really focused on my mobility and my stretching, and
Mm.
I'm actually really enjoying them now because I've just got like range of motion in my shoulders and I'm pain free. Being a rugby player for so many years is all well and good until you decide to overhead squat. Or
Yeah.
and yeah, no, I'd probably say Bulgarian split squats is my least favorite as well. Or any single leg movement like that, unilateral work, just step ups. I hate step like a barbell step up. Ugh. And then my favorite would probably be a mix of power cleans and bench press.
Yeah. Yeah. Bench press classic. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and we do the CrossFit Open here, and it's always the movements that I don't enjoy. Like we did wall walks and pull-ups and stuff the other day. But if I was writing it, it would be as many rounds as possible, 10 power cleans at 60 kilos, 10. It was something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Um, you've talked a lot about the gym in the early days and what it looked like then, in a converted cattle shed. But you've recently, fairly recently, done the new build. Tell us about that. How did you design it all? How did you come up with the idea of it all?
Yeah, it was. To be honest with you, I feel like the last 4 years has been a bit of a whirlwind with us since we've decided to go down this route. The old gym just got so busy. Um, and we had a waiting list. We were turning people away left, right, and centre. It was quite frustrating. We just couldn't train people anymore. It's one of the reasons why I got into online training because I just could work with more people.
Yeah.
But I had a vision then. My wife, we'd had 3 kids. Katie she hadn't worked like properly because of that reason, because she was off with the kids. I just thought it'd be awesome if we can build something together now that you can come in and work for Cattle Strength from a full-time basis. She was helping me with the clothing anyway, like she was in charge of the clothing at that point. It would be awesome if you can build something. And my dad was like, well, look into it then. Like he was quite positive. He was like, look into it. That's pretty much how he talks. And I was like, really? And he was like, well, if I could I build a shed on the farm, Dad? And he was like, well, yeah, you look into it. And I was like, okay, well, I will look into it. Um, I'm lucky with the connections that I've got in the gym. I've got like a planning officer that I train. I've got a building regs officer that I train. The counselor they train, yeah. So I just kind of put some flyers out and I spoke to them. And yeah, the planning officer came over. She was like, "Oh, I'll come over now." So she like looked at the fields and things like that, and she was like, "Well, it could go here." And I was like, "What? So you think I'd get planning here for a gym?" And she was like, "Yeah, I can't see why not. Like the highways is
Mm.
this." And I was like, "Okay." So then I was like, "Right, how much is this going to cost?" And my dad put me off straight away. He was like, "Oh, it's going to cost what it's going to cost." And I was like, "Fuck, how am I going to pay for that?" And yeah. I just kind of like just went for it. I was like, "Oh, bugger it, let's just go for it." Like if it fails, it fails. Like we'll just cross that bridge when we get there. So we went down the route trying to get lenders. The first like all the banks that we spoke to were with Lloyd's Bank with the farm at the time. Went to them. They thought it was a brilliant idea, but they wouldn't lend on
Mm.
projections. Yeah. And the other bank said no. We were like, "Oh, okay, dream over then." But then my accountant was like, "Oh, have you tried Oxbury Bank? They
Mm.
work with farmers all the time, and they actually look at project. They actually look at future businesses. Not. It's kind of like if you think of farming. Say you milk 60 cows, and you've done for 10 years, but you want to increase your herd and you want to milk 300 cows. What the bank was basically telling me was, based on your current projections, earnings, sorry, that's not going to be able to pay for that. And I was like, yeah, well, it's not going to pay for that. That's why we
Mm.
want to get more cows so we can increase our margin, etc. But Oxby saw that. They saw the potential. They saw that it was on the farm and it would be an asset to the farm, even if it did fail and things like that and blah, 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 blah. And so they like backed me straight away and I went with them. And it was a massive learning curve for me. I've never done anything like this before. And then we slowly started to build it, and it was a tough. Well, it's still tough, like tough now, but I worked my ass off. I worked like 15-hour days. I increased my online training as much as I could to help like pay for it. Financial side was frightening and tough, but up until the point of open day. The bills are coming through, and yeah. But yeah, no, it's good. And now we're here 8 months in, and we've got, you know, I don't really like saying how many members we've got, but we've got a good amount of members, and we've got 7 members of coaching, 7 coaching staff members. Sorry.
Have you? Wow.
Okay, yeah, we offer about 14 classes a day. All the classes are like at full capacity. It's our goal. Our goal to open was we wanted 200 members when we opened, and then we opened on to 250.
Wow.
700 people come to the open day. Um, yeah, it was like a huge event. Around 700 people, like in Valenvar, just come into the fields and stuff. Yeah, it was mad. And since then, we've had like Olympic Olympic medalists come and do workshops here. We've like the Welsh Prime Minister has been out. We've started a podcast. We've on episode 21, I think. Yeah, a lot of things have happened. We've done like 2, 3 workshops. We've had a big Christmas party. We've got a summer. Oh, tell you what, 12th of July, we've got a summer social. You're invited.
12th of July, it's my birthday.
Yeah,
It is, yeah.
in the family. I think we're going to climb a mountain in the day, but then afterwards, then we're going to have a live band in the gym and we're going to have a
Oh,
class
awesome.
and then we're going to have food. So, yeah, like sort some accommodation out to Ceredigion and you're invited.
I've written it down. That's awesome. It looks great. From when from what I see on, on social media and everything, it just looks, I don't know, a really nice space to be in. It's light and big, and you see everyone doing the classes. It just, yeah, it looks like a really well designed, cool space. Just from practicality kind of reasons. You must love being in there.
Yeah, that was really important to us. Like, I think you go on Pinterest or something, you type in gym,
Yeah,
they all come up. They've got these like really nice LED lights, which are cool, but then they've got like blacked out gym, like all the machines are black, everything's black. There's mirrors on the wall with LED lights around the mirrors, and everything just seems like black, and it's not my vibe. And I really wanted to create a space where one, everything is branded with Cattle Strength, like with our mustard and
yeah,
white, and I didn't want any mirrors. Like I want to be the gym without any mirrors. We've got coaches that can help you with your phone. We don't need mirrors. Um, and just have that space that's colourful and different and light. So that's what we've done. We've just put like massive dairy parlour fans in there now, which looks quite cool. There's like the aircraft hanger fans, and
yeah, yeah.
well, it adds to the authentic vibe, that we've got. I think. But I've got my wife Katie is to thank for that with the branding. And then obviously we incorporate the arrows into a lot of things we do. So like the AstroTurf in the middle has the 3 arrows, and then the lighting at the top also has the 3 arrows. My pickup has the 3 arrows. And everyone knows what they represent. And it's a Down syndrome sign which represents trisomy 21, which is what Down syndrome is. But it's also like a big part of the gym branding, and it's on everything now as well. So people know that as well.
Yeah, the brand is awesome. It just looks really cool on the merchandise and everything. It just looks amazing.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Just a quick one. The farming community, like I think we're both in rural farming communities, and I don't think farmers are very good at necessarily looking after themselves. In fact, I think we probably look after our livestock better than we look after ourselves sometimes. But do you think that's getting better as we talk about it more and, as a visibility of these kind of what you're doing and DPJ Foundation and people like that? Do you think it's improving or have we still got a long way to go?
I like to think it's getting better. I think statistically speaking, I don't know if it is, to be honest with you. Like, I need to, I don't want to say any statistics out there that I haven't done my research, research on, but you still hear these stories all the time of these horrible, tragic incidents, etc.
Hmm.
But yeah, I'd like to think it's getting better for sure. People like the DPJ are doing an amazing work. I think the more support that they get, the better it's going to be. But I do think that not because I'm not saying this because I'm a gym owner or trying to sell anyone a plan or anything like that. It's completely the opposite. I want to do what I want to like do here, but I think exercising and just being I think exercising massively helps. I think like if we can try and push people down that direction as well, I think that's going to help people, if that makes sense as well. Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it, to to discuss. I don't really. I think I'm. Everyone says that you need to talk more. I think that's what everyone says. Oh, you have to talk. But then I don't think that doesn't seem to. I think there needs to be more than that. I think we need to try and get people to exercise as well,
Mm.
to see their friends or to check on it. DPJ, I think, are doing a great job. We've worked with them. Like we did a charity event with them about 3 months ago. We did 24 workouts in 24 hours with my friend Tristan Lloyd. Yeah, I think they go into Machu Picchu now and respond. I think we're one of the main sponsors that is going to help them go up there. But it's a subject that's close to my heart. Like my uncle tragically committed suicide through depression on like on the family farm then, which kind of
Hmm.
left dad on his own. Um, it's a tough one. I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, we all know we've all got people, and yeah, sadly we've all been touched by it. But yeah, I think and you're right. Just saying you need to talk isn't all. It doesn't work for everybody, does it? There isn't a
Nah,
one size fits all solution, is there?
it almost annoys me when people just repeat that all the time. I'm
Mm.
like, sometimes people don't want to talk.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think there needs to be a better approach and just saying no, talk. I mean,
yeah,
well, yeah,
yeah, yeah,
especially with families and on the road and things like that. It's
mm,
yeah.
yeah. Absolutely. You mentioned Harry, your son Harry, and Down syndrome. I know you've done a lot of work raising awareness of that. It's obviously a subject very close to your heart. Tell us more about that.
About Harry or like about sorry, which is
About Harry, probably I didn't phrase that very well, but yeah, about Harry and Down syndrome and how that's how I guess that's changed your life, I guess.
massively, yeah. Like having Harry massively changed my life. Just my perspective and the way I live my life, and obviously being a parent then as alone has changed my life massively. But when we were expecting our first child, we had like an easy pregnancy. Everything was going brilliant. Harry was born. When he was born, he was pretty much instantly taken off us, and they just told us that there's a problem
Hmm.
and nothing else. And within a few hours, they said, "Oh, we suspect that he's got Down syndrome." Um, we don't know, but we do suspect.
Mm.
So me and Katie were just like hit by a bus with this, to be honest with you. You've got this like baby that you've kind of like visualized in your head that you're going to get.
Yeah.
And we didn't even have a second to enjoy it. It was like straight away, he was taken off us and said it was, there wasn't even a second. We are like, oh, here you go, here's your baby. It was
Hmm.
just bad news straight away. And then they said we suspect he has Down syndrome. And like the way that we were just like, both hit by a bus. And I think he was born quite early in the morning. It was about like 10 o'clock in the morning, etc., something like that. But we didn't even tell our parents until about 7 o'clock at night that we'd had a baby, just because we'd been like whacked by this news. And we were both just like numb in hospital, really, like trying to digest it ourselves. And obviously, it was quite an emotional time and a tough time, during which, one of the midwives in the hospital, the midwives are great, don't get me wrong, but one of the midwives gave us like a poem. I can't remember what it was called. It was something to do with going to Holland. I'll try and find it and show you, but it was basically a poem about like this family that are planning on going on holiday to Spain, but the plane took a detour and they ended up in Holland, and how Holland is as good as Spain. Kids were like, "What the fuck is this? Like, why are you giving us this now?" Like, they're basically comparing having a child with Down syndrome to being in Holland and Spain being normal. And we were like, I think I scrunched it up and threw it in the bin. I was like, this is not what we need. There was also a midwife there that has a child with Down syndrome, that I knew, and she spoke to us. And no one would tell us, like, for example, there's like characteristics a person with Down syndrome has and a person with Down syndrome might not have. And, it's eye level compared to your ears, etc. Um, there's another one. If you look at your hand now, you'll have two creases in your hand here and
Mm.
here. Like people with Down syndrome have one. Whereas Harry had two on one hand and then one on the other. So they were like, well, that's not really giving us much. And then when you look at Harry's toes, well, Harry's toe is supposed to point out like that because, people with Down syndrome tend to have that,
Hmm.
whereas no people don't, etc. Harry didn't have that either. And then they're supposed to be really hard to like give birth to because wouldn't come out easily as normal. Harry came out like a bloody rocket. And then they're supposed to struggle with feeding. Well, Harry's feeding straight away. And we were like, right, well, what are we
Hmm.
supposed to do now? And they were like, oh, we'll have to run tests and you'll have to come back in 2 weeks. So the next 2 weeks then was horrendous. We both struggled massively. It was just like life turned upside down. One that you still don't know what the answer is, and two, like you read all the stories of like you don't know what your life is going to
Yeah.
happen. It's not just the diagnosis of Down syndrome; it's also like a lot of children with Down syndrome like can't hear. A lot of children with Down syndrome have heart conditions.
Hmm.
Like it's really common. Like you have to have open heart surgery within the first 6 months. Like I think 2 out of 3 children with Down syndrome have to have open heart surgery within 6 months because they're born with defects in their heart. And we were like, okay, so we had to go down the route then of having heart scans and touch. It was amazing. Touch wood, Harry was really lucky he didn't have to have that. But when we went back in 2 weeks, then I crashed the car on the way up to the hospital because I was stressed. um, anyway, managed to drive it up after crashing it, and then parked up, and then we went into the pediatric ward, and the doctor was there. He turned up probably about 30 minutes late. Me and Katie were just sitting in this room, just waiting, like for I guess the answer that like, it's a huge thing that's gonna yes, gonna change your life, but
Hmm.
he turned up 30 minutes late. He hadn't hardly no time to talk to us. He was just like, he just sat us down and he was like, I'm really sorry. This is bad news. This is not what you want to hear. It's very bad news. And the way he like portrayed it was like the world's over. Which in hindsight, like I think people really need to change how they word things and
Yeah.
word things. But he was like probably the worst thing about the whole experience for us. So we like sat there, sobbed and things like that. And then our kind of life started from there then. And we were lucky enough that one positive thing about social media, long and behold, is we felt really alone that we were the only parents in the world with a child with Down syndrome.
Hmm.
Because that tells you. But you go on social media and you see all these young families with young kids with Down syndrome, and you see someone who's running an Ironman, literally an Ironman with
Yeah.
Down syndrome, and someone who's an actor and just won an Oscar or things like that. When there are people out there, there's like models and there's I think there's a politician in France now with Down syndrome. And you just think, whoa, this is really cool. I think the first video I saw was Oscar, who's Sarah Roberts' son. She's written 2 books and I've read them both. They're brilliant. And he was skiing at the age of 5 and he was amazing. And the, what you paint in your head is not the reality of what Down syndrome is. And I've kind of learned that over the next 6 months. And I now advocate like that. Don't be sorry. Like Harry's amazing. Harry's so happy.
Yeah.
Uh, he's probably happier than yeah the other because he's very stress free to be honest. And he has emotions like everyone else, obviously, but he just very much lives his best life. And so I try and advocate that because I didn't have any idea of what Down syndrome is in the past. I probably would have used wording and stuff in the past that I'd never think about using now because it's kind. So like when I've got my friends or like rugby boys and someone might say something and they don't mean it by any, they don't mean any harm by it because I know what it's like. It's yeah. I think we're just trying to like paint a positive and try and not educate people like I'm like some sort of guru, but just try and like spread awareness with it basically. And I think Cattle Strength does that. We raise awareness for Down syndrome charities, and I think we've raised over 25,000 now for two
Jeez. Wow.
different charities, yeah, of two
That's
different,
amazing.
yeah.
Yeah.
And like the amount of people like we do sign language in the gym and stuff, and the amount of people that you know come up and say like, "Oh, Bore da" and sign or something like that to us, or Harry and Harry teaches us signs. Like there's a butterfly in the book, and he was going like this. And I was like, oh, that's probably Pili Pala, isn't it? And he was like, yeah. I was like, yeah. he teaches learns that at school, and that teaches us when he's back.
Yeah. I must be, I guess he's being around the gym so much. He's got like a great big extended family as well
Yeah,
with so
he's a
many
man
people
from
there.
that. Like last Saturday, he uh, he woke up at 4:30 in the morning, and then I promised Katie to lie in, so I had to take him out to the lounge, and I was like, "What am I going to do now?" So I just took him down to the gym, 5:30 in the morning. I took him down to the gym. The gym's So he was down at the gym at 5:30 this morning. They were doing intervals, like running down the yard. And two of the girls that were doing the intervals, Jess and Nicola, they just took him with them. So he was
Yeah,
intervals at 5:30 in the morning in the, on the
that's
yard.
amazing.
He loves it. And he looks at cattle strength and he says, strength. And he goes like this and stuff.
Oh, that's awesome. Really cool.
And we struggled to come to terms with that for a period of time, but now it's a huge blessing to our lives, and it's changed how I treat people, because you don't have like I not treat people in that respect, but I'm so much more inclusive now with how I do things, and without even thinking, like
Yeah,
I look back and I, mean, I was very different in the fact that you take things for granted and you don't.
yeah. No, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Um, okay. What are your future plans for Cat Strength? Where do you see it all going? Have you got? I mean, I guess at the moment with you not long having opened the new gym, you're just kind of focused on that and probably getting some income in to pay for it all. But do you have you thought about having other gyms around Wales and the UK? Do you see that in the long term or?
I would never say never to anything. Like I'm very open to anything like that. But like for the next few years, like my goal is to try and make Counter Strike 2.0 the best gym that it can be. I actually
Mhm.
told people locally, like I kind of want this gym to be one of the best gyms in the UK. Um, that's still my goal. Like I want it to be one of the best recognized gyms in the UK. For us to do that, there's a lot we need to increase, like the quality of service that we give our members. We need to increase the what's available to our members. Like for example, we've changed the old gym to a barn now, which offers Pilates and a daily stretching class and things like that. So that's something new. I really want to be able to have like saunas and ice baths and things like that. So there's a cold and hot therapy area. So that is something we've got an upstairs that I'd like to kit out. What we do in the upstairs, yeah, I'm not sure. I change my mind every 20 minutes, but it will be kitted out at some point. And who's not to say that there's sheds in the farm that we stopped milking. Time goes fast. Was it last year or the year before? I can't remember. I think it was the year before. God, we stopped milking, and yeah, last year we stopped milking last year, and a lot of sheds now aren't in as much use as they were.
Mhm.
Like we could we could long term like maybe look to diversify one of the farms to be something in line with what is currently happening with cattle strength. Who knows? But the goal is to try and make it one of the best gyms in the UK for sure.
Really exciting. Why not? I'm sure you'll get there. Okay. Let's finish with the five hard-hitting traditional questions because I'm sure you've got people to train. What's the best gig you've ever been to? Music or comedy or anything like that?
I would say Morgan Wallen in Hyde Park.
Awesome. I hoped it would be country. I thought it would be. All right. Best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Um, ah, is what did I hear the other day? Someone said to me, like, find what it is you want and do uh, it's, basically what he was saying was people want your results their way and you can't have that. So
Yeah. Okay.
there's a guy that he was a gym owner, funny enough, and he's Mike opened all these gyms and he's a multimillionaire. And I he was doing this call and he was basically saying like, "Oh, what are you doing next month?" And he was going out to 60 gyms. And the guy asked him, he was like, "Well, are you doing that yourself?" He was like, "Yeah, yeah, in person." And then, well, how are you managing that? You've got kids. And like, "Oh yeah, but they're flying out with me." And then he's also doing this, that, and the other. And like people want what he's got, but they're not willing to do the work that he's
Mm.
got there. And I think you have to come to terms with the fact if you want that, you do have to put the work in. And I know it's not a quote, but it kind of stuck with me. Like people want your results their way, and if I want to have someone else's results, then I got to do it their way. And they've crafted and they've worked hard, and I think that kind of stuck with me. It's not the best probably for some
No,
people.
no, that's great. No, I really like that.
That makes sense.
Um,
I think I've got
what's
definitely on the ADHD spectrum somewhere.
what's the best book you've ever read?
Probably How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. That I read that when I was quite young, but like it's basically about um, how to just like connect better with people and how to make people like trust you,
Mm.
like in a good way, not trust you
Yeah,
to, like, deceive them, but like just trust you, and like the basis and fundamental stuff is very simple. It's just like learn people's names. So if you don't know someone's name, write it down or just keep a note on your phone. And the next time you see that person, you can just be like, "Oh, Dave, how's Linda?" And you remember her
yeah.
last name. And like, "Oh, how
Goes
do you
such a long way, doesn't it? Yeah,
yeah?" And you're like, "How did it go with this school rehearsal?" And like, "How did you remember that?" And things like that. Or if you can't congratulate people or just text someone out the blue and say, "Oh, hey mate, hope you're okay," and the little things like that. I don't know. What that book teaches is so basic, but it helps massively, especially in line of business and anything really. I think it's really important.
yeah, 100%. Okay, if you could meet any historical figure, who would it be and why?
Johnny Cash.
Yes, do you know, I think that'll be my answer as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, even my 11-year-old daughter. This is a minor. You take the kind of when you've got kids. It's like minor dad triumphs. And I picked her up last night from her taekwondo class, and driving back, she put Johnny Cash on in the car off my phone, and I was buzzing. I was like, yes,
What
getting something right. Um,
song,
what was that? Sorry.
song did she put on?
She put on Folsom Prison Blues.
Ah,
Yeah,
class.
because she's yeah, she's quite the girl, and she loves the line. I shot a man in Reno just to watch him die. I don't know whether I'm raising a psychopath or a
I live
or
in that
or a
too.
go-getter. I don't know, but anyway,
I love Johnny Cash. I think he's like, yeah, I love him. He's
yeah.
like, I
And
think the Zach Bryans of the world are like, they're very similar to Zach Bryan, especially is like similar to Johnny Cash, and he's a bit of a, yeah,
even even all the really late stage stuff he did, like Hurt and all the American kind of so amazing. It's really hot. Yeah, love it. Yeah. All right. On that then, what's your all-time favorite song?
um, Morgan Wade, Wilder Days.
Right.
Love that. So my kids know that song off by heart.
Writing
And I
it down.
like Morgan Wade. I've gone to see her live once. I think the Morgan Wallen concert was so good in Hyde Park. I think it was the biggest country concert the UK's ever had. But I went to watch Morgan Wade in Manchester, and there was like 300 people there. Uh, they were very close to choose between Morgan Wade. I like Morgan Wade. Do you know who this is?
Yeah, 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 I do. Yeah, yeah,
So
awesome. Okay, Rhys, it's been amazing. Honestly, and I say this, I probably haven't told you this, but the online training you do for me is the best money I spend. Honestly, it has changed my life mentally and physically. It's made me a better person, better dad, better husband, better farmer. I think just yeah, it's helped balance me out a bit. So yeah, massive, massive thank you for that and for everything you do.
thank you.
Yeah. All right. To everyone listening at home, thanks for all the nice messages. If you could rate, review, spread the word of the podcast, all that jazz, it all helps. We are experimenting with YouTube, so if you want to watch the interviews on that, if you're so inclined, you can do. And to everyone at home, thanks for listening and hope to see you next time. I've been Will Evans. This has been Rock and Roll Farming. Thank you and good night.